Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back again. We're here in the Southeast Asian qualifiers for the Kiev Major. Oh my goodness gracious, it's the match of the night, the match of the century, the match of everything else. Blaze, how you feeling?
Feeling really good, man. This cast I've been looking forward to all day. This match is actually one of the most impactful of the qualifiers, as it could guarantee Clutch gamers are able to secure their spot for the playoffs. It also means that Mineski could put themselves right in the driver's seat and most almost guaranteed. Like there's a way that they could win this match and not make the playoffs, but it's through tiebreakers and it's extremely complex.
Yeah.
But we're just looking at this matchup right now. We could pretty much, because their subsequent opponents are going to be RRQ as well as procedural wide in for both teams. That means unless something crazy happens, you're probably going to be seeing the winner of this advance. So, with that in mind, Clutch Gamers Mineski, two of the top four teams right now, and they've been playing some really good qualifiers, man.
No, totally. And I think that no matter what, if you're looking at this team, your mentality is just win, baby. You know, it's Al Davis, the old Raiders owner, used to say it. It doesn't matter what the tiebreaker scenarios are. You want to go into the playoffs with some good momentum behind you, and they're going to be facing off against each other most likely later on, so good to get it out of the way right now anyways. Crystal Maiden as the first round pick for Clutch Gamers, as well as the Weaver. Slardar was first overall, but then they go back for the Underlord.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the pick?
I think it's actually quite solid. Ralphie loves to play it. He used to play it a lot before the nerf, of course, as everybody did. But even afterwards, we've seen it a few times from him, and it really works well with this support Slardar. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing support Slardar a little bit myself, but no doubt is it effective. So combining up Underlord with Slardar, they can get very in your face very quickly. And it means that Crystal Maiden is going to have to be babysitting pretty much 24/7, have to be afraid for her own life with her low movement speed and armor, and just as a whole, it's going to be a pretty rough ride up on the top lane for Clutch.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this lane, and maybe you need to start thinking about like pairing it together with another hero that can give you some amount of ability to. I was just going to come out and say that Disruptor is something that I feel like is quite strong with this type of a lineup to open for Underlord and Slardar. They don't opt to ban it, Clutch Gamers. Instead, they're going to take out the Shadow Fiend and the Life Stealer. Do you feel like from time to time, if you're a Mineski draft right now, you can just go for a like 5-man death bally type of strategy, or is that something you have to do?
I'm not so sure. I think the Lifestealer ban is still quite warranted. Like the some fast combos that we've seen with Slardar in the past month or so has been really high synergy. As far as like high momentum, I think that Mineski already have one strong lane. They want to probably get at least two guaranteed lane wins if they can get the right matchup for it. And we'll just have to see what Clutch kind of indicate. Because right now, a big aspect of the playstyle of Clutch, I would say, relies on their mid. And so Aubing and Armel, they've been swapping it up based on the hero a little bit here and there. But they have played a nice diverse pool. And they're probably not going to be showing it off until the fifth pick. So Mineski kind of have to take all these different factors in consideration when deciding what matchup Jay is going to have.
ET now taken as well for Clutch Gamers. We've seen another return to prominence of this hero, particularly in the Southeast Asian region, and Clutch Gamers is one of those teams that brought about that resurgence because of their just incredible team fight focus that their team has. You've got a CM there already, Freezing Field, already a incredibly potent spell, amplified up by that natural order, and occasionally we've seen it run together with the Ember Spirit. If you're Mineski, do you think about maybe deny picking that one yourself? Like, is Ember a good fit with the other heroes they have, or do you think it's not even super necessary?
I mean, I like the Ember. I think that obviously you're going to be able to get a more consistent interrupt on the Crystal Maiden's Freezing Field, maybe lock the Weaver in place. You won't prevent it from casting Time Lapse, but at least the Shikuchi movement. I think it's a pretty solid pickup overall. There's nothing wrong with it. But again, I think Abeng and Arma will have their pick of the litter as far as heroes to deal with an Ember directly.
Yeah.
To go instead with the Disruptor for right now, a hero that you mentioned being a pretty potent follow-up. You go in with Slardar, with Underlord, and you just get this Ring of Death on top of it. It just makes it really hard for Weaver to move here when you're running through Pit of Malice, Kinetic Field, Crush, have to maneuver around all this different stuff. So Disruptor is a really solid pickup here, and I don't blame them at all for going for it. And I gotta note that they've really narrowed the options for Hannah here. They kind of did a bit of a respect ban here in Phase 1 for the Darkseer that we've seen at least 2 or 3 times from Hannah in this qualifier. And with the Timbersaw, the Nyx Assassin, and the Centaur all also banned out, they're going to have to opt for the axe here, which we've seen at least most commonly in a kind of a jungle start. They'll try to lane it, get harassed back a little bit too much, and then end up just finding themselves in the jungle anyway. So now I'm looking for some of those aggressive wards that we've been seeing cover up the safe farming space of the axe and making it so that he can't maneuver properly. I think this is something that Mineski are very capable of. If the Disruptor just kind of chases around axe, Thunder Strikes whenever he's farming, and makes his life a nightmare, I don't think Crystal Maiden is going to be in a position to respond. Maybe ET can make his way out there, try to help him out, but I feel like right now Clutch Gamers are in a position where they can get bullied very heavily in the early game, and then of course we've already talked about the synergy that Mineski have in terms of mid-game team fights.
So what about if instead the Clutch Gamers flip the script and go for an aggro lane? You've got Disruptor and Slardar as a sort of dual support in quotation marks. If they did decide to get aggro with like a Weaver and a CM and then put Axe solo, is this tri-lane enough that it would run into issues? Depending upon what the safe lane hero is for Mineski?
I don't think the Weaver would be the one hero that you want in that tri-lane is the issue. I feel like if you have a really good fighting carry, it can work, but here Weaver, he can poke and he can do some decent damage, but he can't fully commit, and that's the problem. Is just if he goes in, he gets target fired down. We saw what happened in the last try versus try scenario with the Weaver, where as soon as Shukuchi ran out, they just gunned for him. Sure, you don't have the time dilation to add a few extra seconds there, but it's still going to be a factor where at low levels, it's a longer cooldown, and it's easier to punish.
And now Ember Spirit coming out. We talked about this hero, the potential for it, but it is against a Crystal Maiden who has gotten that recent buff to the way that Root works with the mechanic for getting out of there. Do you think that that's something to be concerned about for Ember? It's now two good ways to disrupt him in a fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly annoying. It's certainly something that has to play around very carefully here, but I do think that he's going to have pretty good coverage just from the response from the start of the Disruptor. Overall, I feel like there's a lot of ease of execution in Mineski's draft, and they're even adding the Mirana on top of it here. So right now, their safe laner could be just about anything. I guess you'd maybe even look at a safe lane Mirana, which seems just bizarre, but whatever works for them, I think that they're going to be able to go for some big follow-up here. They start off a fight with like a Crush or a Pit of Malice, and the arrows and the Searing Chains can allow them to just keep on locking these opponents in place. It's just the one thing I am worried about is them lacking scaling, as none of these is a particularly hard carry, but they're going to have a lot of tempo on their hands if they can just continue to win fights.
Yeah, and I mean, you sort of solve some of the right-click damage as well by going for those like max levels, eventually scaling into the late game the 25 talent. It's not maybe the biggest deal in the world, but regardless, Clutch Gamers with the last pick. We'll see what they want to go for. A mid-hero, a team fight. I kind of like Invoker. Seems good.
Yeah, seems to be perfectly acceptable in this kind of situation. I mean, you are going to be most likely up against this Ember Spirit, so anything with good physical damage is going to be very helpful here. If you just want to kind of stop off the momentum, I can see a Viper actually being extremely strong here. You have so much magic damage incoming, and you're not worried about the late game. Like, you can talk about level 25 talents all you want, but realistically, if Mineski are at that stage of the game, they've already kind of lost their intentions. And yet, despite that line of thought, they're going with an oldie but goldie Medusa coming into play, and that is going to make things very interesting.
I like it. I like it a lot. We're going to hop into the game now. It is, to me at least, the game of the day. You mentioned you were excited for it. I'm excited for it as well. Clutch Gamers facing off against Mineski. Winner most likely going to be able to move on into the playoffs, and more importantly in that, feeling good moving into the playoffs, since there's a high likelihood that both these teams will regardless. And I mean, I'm sort of wondering now, look at this. There's some love going between the two teams also. You love to see that.
Oh, most definitely. There's a lot of respect between these two sides. I mean, anybody who plays SEA pubs probably has some level of respect for Miracle, as this guy was actually one of the first guys in their region to hit some of the MMR benchmarks. I forget if it was 8K or 7K, but he was like, I think, the third player to do so. And then he kind of stopped playing ranked after that, interestingly enough. But yeah, as far as this lineup goes, you got to talk about synergy here. The Elder Titan and Medusa have worked together in a lot of drafts, especially like in a few of the previous patches. China was running a lot of that. Elder Titan, Medusa, and Phoenix, where you could really control the opponent with the combination of Echo Stomp, Stone Gaze, to put out a lot of physical damage in this case with the Natural Order and the raw right clicks, and the Axe on top of this all. Like, Axe works really, really well in terms of enabling Stone Gaze and just allowing you to go for these kind of AoE combos of your own, and doesn't really care if she gets isolated too much, which is really important when you're walking into a Disruptor, a Slardar, and Underlord. You can't group up too actively. You can't say, okay, well, our carry is getting picked off, let's all rush in to help. You can't play like that against this kind of a dire lineup. So what they do instead is get one of the tankiest carry in the game in Medusa, who after just a couple of item pickups can soak up almost anything in terms of damage output, and should be feeling pretty confident about herself in just pushing forward and being this anchor that the team revolves around.
Well, we'll have to see if she's capable of dealing with it. Certainly one of the things that might end up putting a hamper is if there's any early rotations into her lane to find a kill, but her heroes aren't necessarily well suited to that out of the side of Mineski right now. I mean, you've got the Mirana in the safe lane, obviously, on Miracle. He's not really going to be able to move too much. Disruptor doesn't do a whole lot either. Can we see Slardar make a move, or do you think that they're going to be more heavily focused on shutting down this Axe?
I mean, already they have made their moves up top where they want to try to pressure Hana. They even put in a ward that got dewarded over by the shrine area where he's going to be wanting to rotate to farm. I think they do need to force him out of lane, though. I mean, they have a lot of chain stun potential. Like, Arrow after Crush is going to be creating some great opportunities for them. But in general, yeah, I just feel like they have to at least pressure Hana back, get him farming, and then they can start smoking and roaming.
And in the meantime, Underlord in this bottom lane, he also has to deal with some of the problems that a CM can bring. A good bit of high magic damage if they wanted to rotate in. Also Sakuchi maybe being a little bit of a pain. Is it something where he has to worry about potentially getting killed off as well if those supports happen to make their ways into lane?
Oh, it's definitely a concern for him. He can't push out too far. I mean, you really can't even break past this tree line to an extent because you do have to worry about that. But if we're actually looking at Boombacks, he's actually one of the first SCA supports, Crystal Maidens, that have been farming the jungle so actively. He's actually going for the traditional build with the Frostbite, which is now allowing them to close distance here onto Ralphie and might be able to enable a kill.
Yeah, they've got another Frostbite in a little bit. Once that mana regen comes back up, it's actually going to be given a clarity as well, and no, it's not actually to the tune of a kill.
Yeah, I mean, he's so tanky. Even though the Atrophy Aura doesn't do nearly as much at level 1, it's only a 4% reduction. The Poor Man's Shield and just the raw 4 armor is always very helpful. And in fact, now he's going to get a lot of free damage onto Fly Solo, who has to pull back.
Yeah, and CM again just going to chase forward the haste through.
They need a shrine for sure.
Yeah, this is a little bit frustrating, but shouldn't end up coming to the tune of a kill. The Frostbite, they do have another Stomp if they... Well, they don't have Stomp, still level 1.
Yeah, so if they had the Stomp, they probably would have already killed him by now. But unfortunately, they just have to kind of pull back, and that haste rune allows them to force out the shrine and deny the first blood. So not too bad a movement for Mineski. I wanted to look back at this mid lane, though, because I do think it is a very important matchup here. Ember Spirit going to be going for his Poor Man's Shield here, and Jay's actually going to have to dip into his own shrine as his mana pool has been exhausted. While the Mystic Stake might not be able to do any magical nuke damage while Flame Guard's up, every time it's soaking up some of his mana pool, which he's extremely dependent on pre-bottle. So he's actually going into the jungle a little bit here until his bottle comes to him, and even then he might go for like a 4-minute room grab.
Yeah, getting that stack done. Well played there. And in the meantime, we talked about Axe being over in the jungle. We haven't seen the Disruptor or the Slardar really go to contest him all that much, except when the runes are up. And Hana, he's still stuck at level 1. This is a problem. Going for that battle hunger early means that his laning phase, the start of it, has been really hemmed in. And now that he does finally have the second level, he can maybe farm a little bit more effectively. But compare that to what the Underlord's been able to do. It's been feeling a lot more like the Aura's been active down here bottom.
Yeah, and even Slaughter's going to be able to stock up on the high ground here, cutting Hana off from his shrine. There's no way he could actually get to the shrine without getting killed off, so he's just got to have to run. No, he goes in for the rotation. Might be able to get it just a little bit more time is needed. And yes, he will be able to. He doesn't even use it. He's playing games right now. He's got a lot of natural HP regen, combining that with the Tango, and I forgot that he had a Fairy Fire. So he actually, there is no kill potential here against the Axe because he will always be able to heal himself back up and pop the shrine. So that's the new game plan for Jules, is just get him to waste the shrine. And he'll do it eventually. He just wants to get some more efficiency out of it.
Yeah. It's definitely been frustrating laning stage, I'm sure, though, for the Axe. But likewise, Ember Spirit having a hell of a hard time 14-3 versus the 24-7 Armel. He has been really all over it. But it does still feel like it's a hero in the Ember Spirit who can get more done once you get those first couple of levels, and he's still been getting a lot of those levels. As Medusa, do you need to be worried about your lack of contribution to team fights early?
I mean, only if the team fights go to you, right? Like, if your teammates are getting ganked and you're still farming happily, I don't think you're too worried as Medusa, because you don't have to, like, take the map within the next 20 minutes or so. You can play this very late, because there is no hard carry on the side of Mineski. So you have all the time in the world. You lose a fight, you'll come back from it. Maybe you don't flash farm as quickly, but right now he's just getting the lane. And that's the important thing, is he's just getting this base starting point where he does an okay amount of right-click damage, and every time that he shoots out this Mystic Snake, Jay has to Flame Guard for 100 mana, and then he loses mana from the mana drain aspect. So, in general, it's pretty difficult to be an Ember Spirit in this position, and we even see Jay dipping into the Iron Talon and really just focusing on the stacks that he built up.
Yeah, just to make sure that those get finished off. The Slardar going to check on the Axe, but he is off in the other jungle right now.
Wow, they wasted a lot of wards here.
Yeah.
That can be actually a huge waste if they don't pick up the Axe anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's also to the tune of the Elder Titan being able to soak up some experience here. He's level 3. It's not exactly like they've been able to shut him down that heavily. It was looking bad for a while with the Battle Hunger skilled first for Axe and everything else, but now they're catching back up, and you also have CM that's getting some farm. So all in all, a great start for Clutch Gamers, and it does feel like Mineski are going to need to address this at some point.
Yeah, most definitely Clutch Gamers have the upper hand at this point in time. And you look at Jay, and he's in this weird spot. He couldn't even finish off the stack that he was working on, and he had to go back and heal, gets the full bottle respawn. He'll Flame Guard it and Remnant right back out to finish it off, but in the meantime, like, Jules is now having to become the mid laner. And this Medusa pick, like, has been under no pressure at all, has been able to actually just straight up win out the lane. And while he is dwarfed in CS by the Mirana, the farm just doesn't mean nearly as much on that hero.
Yeah, and it's not as if the safe lane for the side of Clutch Gamers is going completely terribly either. I mean,
should be a kill here up on the top lane. The Elder Titan can be glimpsed back, and the arrow and the kinetic can lock him in position for a lot of damage. There's still some possibility that he can get out if they drop their glimpse and their arrow too early. He can TP or try for the echo, but right now it looks like he's in a bad spot.
All right, pulling him back in. Arrow connects, nicely done. Fly solo in trouble, and that is going to be first blood, as you mentioned. So Mirana picks that one up. If there's a guy that's going to be able to pull them back into this game, it's going to be Miracle. In your eyes, how does he accomplish that? What is he going to need to do in this game?
I mean, he's going to have to farm his Aghanims extremely quickly, and he's going to have to hit a lot of arrows. That's pretty much just the bottom line. There's a lot of setup. Searing Chains, Kinetic, in a way. We saw the glimpse right there. Big setup for an arrow, which I guess we should mention is pretty sick. And then on top of that, yeah, you get your Crush, your Pit of Malice. These kinds of abilities all will enable big arrows, but you've got to follow through, or you're just going to be treading water for a large part of this game.
55 CS for him. Medusa is also now going into the jungle from time to time to pick up a couple of CS after spamming out the wave. So potentially from bad to worse here. And in your eyes, with this Manta style queued up, at least for the moment, or rather the Yasha, do you think that, what do you feel like it needs to be the build for the Medusa as a whole to start moving around? Or
well, my personal favorite is going to be obviously the Gila here, then FaZe, Yasha, Scotty. Asian regions tend to go into the full Manta style first and then kind of decide what to do from there. Even like a Manta BKB is what I've seen. If we say Manta BKB Lincolns, I'll lose my mind a little bit, but for the most part, it should just be a pretty standard progression. They get some Scotty at a pretty good time, like a 25-minute mark.
I remember a certain cast for the Shanghai Major qualifiers.
That was so bad. You know it was so
I know
bad,
we both. The thing that's crazy is we both know the exact match you're talking about. I think it was CDEC Youth versus Newbie Young.
And he did it like 3 times in the same tournament, and it never worked. And I'm just like, okay, well, you do you, man. You're the professional. But it clearly was not the optimum route when we juxtapose it to all the other Medusa performances at that point in time. But this is some new light. We haven't seen it that much in this patch at all.
Yeah.
So I guess we can like look at the talents a little bit here and just talk like, okay, she gets a little bit more intelligence. Natural evasion is actually pretty sick. Yeah. And then the biggest one in my mind is at level 20, you get 600 mana. you suddenly become a massive sponge. Yeah, you can get a 6 target on split shot, but that's pretty pointless in my mind compared to just being able to get that raw effective HP of the 600 mana.
Yeah, great ability to pick up for her. There's a hell of a lot of them that are just sort of like not necessarily the greatest in the world, but you've got options depending upon how the game is going and what you want to move for. But yeah, we're about 9 minutes into this one. Medusa left completely alone, just ever so slightly behind the Mirana, and a little bit of a misplay there as well.
Down bottom, they're going to be going in. They've made the smoke rotation a long way, but they need a glimpse to really make it worthwhile, and they will get the Static Storm kinetic glimpse onto the Weaver and pick up the second kill of the game.
And possibly going to be able to find a third as well. Boomback's in trouble. They throw out the stomp, not nearly going to be enough. And a double there for Miracle. That's the way to make it work. That's the start of it.
Definitely have to see some involvement. Love seeing the rotation of the Disruptor to the off lane at level 6. I think it's probably one of the most consistent ways to find a kill. And yeah, here we see them just getting the most value out of the Shrine and just trying to start making some waves across the map. But they do need to start also getting towers. It's not just going to be a game where you can be 20 kills up and be patting yourself on the back. This is a game where, at the end of the day, you have to take every single building you can, because you see Medusa's actually already weathered down the mid-tier 1. Like, she's going to be able to trade that anytime they commit fully bottom.
Well, in the meantime, they're going to switch up the lane slightly as well. Still the Slardar, who's sitting in the mid, and he needs to be careful because
Glimpse will kill off Axe, so yep, just shows himself, unfortunately. Like, there's nothing really more to it. Should maybe the arrow gave him the vision for the Thunderstrike, but once he was visible, there's really not much more you can do.
No. So mid lane, you talk about everybody moving down to the bottom lane. They are going to try and still take down this tier 1 tower. Not quite brought down as of yet. And well, top lane is where they're pressuring instead. So yeah, all these towers taking some chip damage. We still haven't seen the bottom tier 1 tower go down for the Radiant.
Yeah, so they do get the Axe, and that will delay his blink, but already he's been farming pretty swell. And they're always going to get a trade in terms of these towers here. It's just Weaver and Medusa have been able to do more. So it's a last hit for Clutch Gamers on the top tier 1, and it is a deny against them for the mid tier 1.
So considering that they've been able to take those couple down, they're opening up the map a little bit more. I'm sort of surprised that we're not seeing. Do you think that Mineski need to start making some plays with the Dark Rift where they all run down a lane and then come back in to defend with a Dark Rift play like that?
I think it'd be really sick to see some Dark Rift action combined with Moonlight Shadow, like just some really hard rotations that can't really be seen, and then you just suddenly just have 5 heroes coming out of Invis on top of somebody. So I feel like a lot of good team play is going to be important. We do see the glimpse with the Dust of Appearance. He time-lapses early, but it's right into the same spot he was farming, and that's going to be bringing him down.
Oh my goodness.
It's kind of a panic button. I don't think that's a misplay. It's kind of a situation where I really hope 4 seconds ago I wasn't in the middle of this death circle.
Yeah, and well, again, Fly Solo going to go for the TP. Triple Remnant forward. They find that kill as well. So in spite of the fact that you've got this Medusa that's farming like crazy, going down 0-6, it's maybe starting to feel a little bit tense and tenuous for the
Positive
Clutch
mental
Gamers
attitude, man. You got to just forge ahead. You're just going to be like, yeah, guys, it happens. Don't worry about it. I'm halfway to Lincoln's. We're good. And just keep on doing your thing. I think it's actually fine. The big thing here is I love this Observer Ward from the Dire. Mineski going to be able to pressure the jungle a lot more actively. But they probably need to wait for their Static Storm and cool their jets until they refuel.
Oh no, and they're about to smoke underneath this ward as well, I think. They're all moving back. They're going to ping it out. And I would imagine this is the movement.
Okay. So it wasn't seen necessarily, but obviously there were 2 or 3 heroes down here just a moment before. And
yeah, they scan it immediately.
There it is. All right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's just a good board placement by Mineski. They know where they need to go, and this has been pretty emblematic of their team play in general, is that they've been moving better as a unit, and I think making the right decisions more consistently than they were a couple of months ago.
So at least they should be able to put some hits into the tier 1 off of it, but as you can see, they're not going to fall for any baits, and in fact, they might just be able to Firestorm the waves down and keep this perfectly fine.
That is an Ags Mirana at 13 minutes.
Well, it's one position. You got to remember that he is pretty much just straight up farming in the safe lane. So I actually think that's not a standard timing necessarily, but a pretty solid one. And from there, it's what you expect now. He's going to be able to farm out the jungle extremely quickly and build up towards the next thing, which hopefully will enable a little bit of push.
Well, scary stuff here, and it looks like Hannah maybe going to get caught as well. They're running, they're moving, they're finding almost online, but it does look like Hannah's going to barely get out of that one. Vision with the arrow, not quite on the mark.
I think it might be a Manta Diffusal game from Marana. The Diffusal Mana Burn got buffed a while back, and it is actually even more effective. And I feel like without any form of Mana Burn, it's going to be pretty hopeless in trying to focus down this Medusa. But up top, it should be a Blink Call, unveiling the Blink Dagger, getting a lot of good damage in, but is it going to be enough?
Root, they've got him for a second, trying to remnant out. He only has that one, but they won't be able to find the kill, as that Ember just constantly out of there.
All right, so Elder Titan is going to be controlling this bottom lane so that they can't continue to push and pressure. He's actually really good at wave clearing in this situation. We're going to hear a Moonlight Shadow pop out, but is it really going to enable anything? Just a Static Storm coming out on the Weaver here, and it should be a lot of damage. Double Star Storm. Can they get a little bit more? Not in time! The time left brings it back to full HP.
And now Disruptor in trouble as well.
To the sliver of health. I mean, that is Infused Raindrop. That is what Ice Frog wanted when he made Infused Raindrop.
Exactly.
Like, that is exactly his vision. There is a little dream sequence. There's a little thought bubble. Weaver time-lapsing after having survived by 10 HP thanks to Infused Raindrops.
Well, maybe not going to be able to survive from this one. They end up popping the ulti, and now maybe in a little bit of trouble. Marana trying to TP out. Can they kill him off in time? No, the Hurl Boulder. It was on cooldown still, so they can't run him down. And meanwhile, maybe the Ember Spirit in some trouble.
Yeah, he's out of remnants. He's actually in real deep.
Well, they use the chains. Can they chase him down? You do also have the Disruptor in the area, but yeah, it's a kill. Actually going to be the CM that picks it up. They're Dark Rifting into this.
Yeah, not much to bring to bear against them, though. The mechanism was kind of like the emergency call, and it just doesn't really matter. Now Axe just gets to take the entire Dire jungle. He actually just, this isn't his farming zone. While there's this actually going on back and forth bottom, it's like, Medusa, you've had your time. It's Axe time. And he just gets wave after wave. He gets a jungle camp after jungle camp, and he's going to have a Blade Mail at a very fast pace.
And it does look like they're going to be going for Lincoln Sphere now on the Medusa. Yasha into Lincoln's, you know.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a good mix of like farming speed, offensive capability, and the defense you need against a spell like Glimpse.
Yeah, Glimpse to me has felt like definitely the be-all end-all as far as them being able to take team fights on their terms, that being Mineski. And you shut that down, puts you in a better position. Still the Axe, almost towards the Blade Mail. He's still about halfway there, roughly. And that could be another little power spike for them to get into position to take fights.
Yeah, Hannah's doing really well for himself considering the rocky start. I think that's just been him being very methodical about his movements and him making the right call to rotate to the jungle as soon as he could and give the lane to the Elder Titan. That just puts them in a much better spot. And now they have, it looks like, a quadruple stacked Ancient available to them.
This might actually become hard to take. They got armor, they've got higher HP, they've got life regen. It'll take a little while for her to clear it all the way out.
And even that negative armor can be really annoying if the Prowler Shaman is able to get too close. But in the end, he's going to be able to clear it out just piece by piece, and there's really no contest here. Mineski, they pop the Shrine, they pop the Smoke. They're going to try to make a play happen. They should be doing this every time they have both Smoke and Static Storm available.
It is going to be coming in right as the Lincoln Sphere is there for the Medusa, but it looks like their eyes are down bottom towards the Weaver and the Crystal Maiden. The scan, was that a Dire scan? Yeah, it was. So Radiant don't realize that this is happening. Jump forward, crush, it's there.
Oh,
Do they have the reveal? They're not quite going to be able to get it the glimpse back in, but are they going to be able to bring him down? He does have time lapse, backs out and away yet again. Now Bombach's in some trouble. They might have another arrow. Triple remnant forward. The CM ulti is going, but that route is not going to stop this ulti. Can they actually find a kill? Can't do it.
Just, yeah, not really way of fighting that in that situation. Once the smoke connected like that, there's pretty much nothing else you can do. The Medusa continues to do what she can to build herself up, and she is going to be going for Manta style next. So going to be able to, if she needs to, glimpse dodge, but much more likely just break out of the amp damage or the Searing Chains and push her a little bit more aggressively. That said, Guardian Greaves will come up pretty soon for the Underlord. And from there, of course, we're just looking for more damage and initiation tools for Mineski.
So one of the problems that we have seen Medusa sometimes have is a lack of mobility as an arrow almost hits there onto the Crystal Maiden. And particularly in this match where you have heroes like the Underlord, you have heroes like the Ember Spirit, even in a lot of ways Mirana with the Blink Dagger and Leap. Is that something that you need to be concerned about, your lack of ability to control heroes and keep them in one spot?
I think you just need to recognize that as a weakness and play around it. So what do? You let them come to you. You say, okay, well, you want to get some kills and turn that into towers because there's no way they take towers without kills. Then you just kind of play around it as this kind of fortress where the Axe can control their positioning, the ET can control their positioning, and you just let them come and see what happens.
Okay. So top lane, Slardar, currently level 10. I don't know if he's going to run into the Axe here.
I'm not liking this Midas picker from Jules. I think that while it is a clearly indicating that they believe this game is going to go later than they wanted it to, it's also kind of a sign that the things are not going to be good for him and for the team as a whole. Like if he goes for like a BKB and just starts rushing in and getting aggressive, I can get behind that. But him kind of waving a flag of, okay, let's play this one out, it actually favors the Radiant draft heavily. And then it really comes only down to mobility at that point. As we do see Mirana making a nice little getaway there, but
I think that this is going to be a dead Hana.
yeah, it looks to be the case. But
yeah.
I think that if we are going to be playing this one out towards late game, that mobility might become more of a factor where Mineski can play multiple lanes. And in fact, they're playing down bottom here. The Dark Rift gets canceled by a single creep kill. They waste both the Moonlight and the Dark Rift with 2 heroes stranded up top.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Well, they're still involved.
They're TPing in, though. They want to take this fight.
But
and
there's a
actually
cooldown.
kill on top of him. That's going to be a dead CM in just a second. Armel as well. He actually didn't have his mana shield up for that fight. So was naturally a very tanky hero. Ends up dropping a huge win right there and a great static storm by Ninja Boogie.
Absolutely insane. They couldn't get the toggle off as they needed to, and just able to bring down targets very quickly in that situation. I was afraid that without the Mirana there with her TP on cooldown, that would have been maybe a lost engagement where we could see some really good usage of the Echo Stomp and the Stone Gaze. But the Axe was out of the picture. They felt confident. They hit the right spells where they needed to, and they are going to bring this to a 12-3 kill lead.
So clearly what you're saying is that Medusa needs BKB now. Also, to deal with that now.
I'm saying that she should have mana shield on at all times because that's what you do as this hero. You use mana to soak up damage. Like what else? What else would you do?
All right, fair enough. Still Ember. Like this is now the thing that's really scary for me. We've talked about mobility a ton in this game, and they are farming out the Radiant base. They're going to start to starve them out already. Look at the drop in net worth. It's great, granted off of a kill, but it's also trending that way into the favor of Mineski because they're farming more efficiently around the map.
Yeah. I think they also have some kill Roche potential just based on the fact that they have a Slardar. Most of their lineup is terrible at taking Roche, but they are able to fight around the pit with heroes like the Disruptor and the Mirana, and just the fact that they can at least take the armor down low means that they have a shot at doing that without being contested too directly.
Oh, I think they might have caught just a second of the Ember Spirit there, but they are not going to run into him. Now they...
Up the hill. They need the Frostbite badly, though. Are they going to get it?
Possibly.
No, the call!
What? Okay, he just gets out
Yeah.
and away. But now the rest of the side of Mineski is moving in here. They might actually decide to take this fight nonetheless. Hana runs into the Slardar, ends up bumping into him, doesn't go for the call, instead the crush, and now the blink out. But Miracle, he is here, ready to go onto him. They do have the mana shield on this time, and the arrow ends up hitting onto the creep instead of Hana.
Okay, but Pit Lord's here. He had to book into the fight. They've kind of repositioned themselves, and now they're ready to go in.
All right, glimpse back into Hana, in some trouble, and now it looks like Clutch Gamers, they just have to call it off. They're not going to be able to take this fight effectively. CM throws out another one of those Frostbites. They are going into it. That's going to be the Stone Gaze down onto him. Static Storm not really doing a whole lot, but can they control these heroes? Can they bring them down? I don't think so. CM going down as well, and they're just not doing nearly enough damage. Ninja Boogie walks out. Amel is down to almost half HP. They get the time-lapse off on the Weaver, but everybody from Mineski is just going to continue the charge here. They're on top of that Medusa, but they don't even really need to focus her. They're taking out all the rest of the heroes. Maybe Weaver now can try and turn this back around. And with 2 already dead...
Now they're bailing. They're completely gone here. The Medusa goes to the top lane. The Weaver just has to slip his way out. And a big part of that fight, I would have to say, is the second arrow that connected onto the Crystal Maiden. That one made it so that he couldn't go with the flank, like just drop a couple spells, get in the trees, and do the freezing field like he wanted to. I mean, they had already ballooned the Static Storm at that point in time, so it would have been a really effective ultimate from Boombacks, but Miracle just hits the perfect arrows and isolates 2 targets. Really. I mean, they were moving around trying to get the repositioning to buy time for everybody to get there. They only had 3 heroes to start that fight, and they kind of, throughout the course of Moonlight Shadow, got all 5 in play. But it was really the arrows and just these kind of continuous fishing attempts of either glimpse or arrow to isolate targets and get the freebies.
Yeah. And you just don't have that much damage on the Weaver right now either. So, like, even if it took so long to find the kills, they, threw out the arrows, they made the hits that they needed to. But, like, that fight lasted probably like 30 seconds, and I feel like the Weaver did almost nothing. The majority of the damage coming from Sakuchi even.
Yeah, they're just playing so defensively there. They're very concerned about whether or not they'll be able to compete at this level and to be able to get the damage out where they need it to. I mean, Natural Order should theoretically allow them to put out a lot of damage.
Right.
It should allow them to put in some big hits here, but as far as what we've seen, they really have been on the back foot of every engagement so far. They're worried about another ward detecting their smoke. That one is not going to be the case, and they're going to be trying to make their way down bottom where Jules is already pulling back.
Eul Scepter is the pickup for the Ember Spirit to get rid of the root that was been causing him some issues from time to time. And it looks like with this, they will be able to secure a last Tier 1 tower, as the Manta style is now done for Medusa as well. Oh, call? They spot the axe.
Yeah, but Armel's still in a really good position here. If he just stays right here, he's going to be able to Stone Gaze at any tough spot. Even if he got Searing Chains there, he has the Manta. So he has plenty of options here and available. And that's what they need to do. They need to just kind of focus on a single target with Armel on the front. And if anybody messes with him, he's got 2 bodyguards to back him up.
So you mentioned earlier the Manta Diffusal build. I still really like that. Oh, wait. They're going for a Dark Rift. They spot out that Armel is here farming alone. Do they have a smoke as well? Moonlight Shadow, this is the play you were talking about. Yeah. This would be such a huge kill, and he's been farming without Mana Shield on occasion.
And they see him.
Does look like they're going to be on top of him. Jump forward, damage coming out. Is it going to be enough? Triple Remnant, every damn thing, but he's still living through all of it. Oh, man, that was a huge commitment. They can't kill the Medusa.
And that's why you pick a Medusa in this game. Like, no other hero in the carry role, or in this case the mid role, will be able to survive something like that. It's absolutely absurd. But just is able to soak it all up, no problem at all. They do the full rotation with 2 ultimates. Global movement, invisibility. You just suddenly have 5 heroes on top of your carry. And who survives? The frickin' Medusa. Because that's what Medusa does, survive.
Yeah, and she's going to keep on getting bigger and bigger. If you throw all of that at this hero and you still can't kill her, I mean, when you start getting the damage up, what's the answer? How do you make this work?
You try to ignore her, I think, is what you kill her all her friends. That's pretty much how it works. When Scotty is finished on Medusa and you have the 600 mana talent, which is just about to come online, like, there's no killing her. The Armel is just too big, unless he's all by himself with no allies left. So you just focus the allies instead.
And it's going back now for the Hand of Midas on the Disruptor. We talked about the one already for the Slardar. They're trying to gear up for that later game scenario. And if these heroes do start to get into that, like, 3rd, 4th big item, is that a place where maybe they're going to be able to deal with the Medusa at that point? Or do you think that the heroes from Clutch Gamers are maybe going to be able to finish the game before that even comes about?
It's a tough call, man. We have 5% Spell Amp on Marana, and she is going for Ethereal Blade, Aghanims, and Dig on 5. Miracle just wants to blast his target to smithereens. But Hannah's going in for the call, and is going to get the taunt on Marana.
A little bit of damage coming out. They can't quite control, trying to bring her down. She's already used leap. Look at how quick Armel is there, moving around. They're trying to dodge away so he does not get caught in that Stone Gaze. And, well, maybe now a bit too far forward. Misses the crush.
He's just trying to get him all out of there. He's just trying to get some distance. It's not the fight they want to take. And it's just going to be a full bailout. If they had Stone Gaze, they might even consider, like, taking something more, like Roshan's right nearby, and they're not really afraid for people to engage on Medusa. But at the same time, it's just kind of it seems like it's just going to be a bit of a stalemate here in mid. And yeah, as long as the clock keeps ticking, I don't really feel like they're afraid of the Midases, even though there is now one on both the Disruptor and the Slardar.
Okay. Ember is going to be going back for a Radiance as well. We've seen this build time and again, and it's kind of an interesting one, being able to more effectively push out the creep waves, give that mischance over to the Medusa, although we do tend to see eventually an MKB, depending upon what the rest of the build is. See if this smoke can bear fruit, though.
Never refuse gold.
Oh? This is not the person you want to go on.
Yeah. Oh, we found the Medusa, boys. We've got it. It's a 5v1 like it's happened twice already. I think this will work. No, they need another target. It's so sad that you can have a carry right there, and I don't think this will work.
All right, they're going on to her. Static Storm, everything. She's got the Mana Shield on. E-Blade. Maybe Triple Remnant? No, it's not working. Hana's on top of him. You can't do a damn thing. CM ulti, they get the Yule Scepter to lift it off and try and get out of there, but he's used all his remnants trying to take down the Snake Lady, and he ends up falling. Medusa is never going to die.
I think of the scene from Monty Python where they're running at the castle walls with swords in their hands and just smacking at the wall as if it's going to do a damn thing. Medusa just is way too tanky, and they can't do it. Like, they do all this magic damage, Veil, E-Blade, whatever, and this is just like, come on, guys, let's get going. Back up to all this HP and mana, and ready to keep pushing out. They just, as commit Sudoku, down a bottom blade. I don't know.
She just got the 600 mana talent as well, so 1900 HP, 1900 mana, and soon to be Aegis. Although, you don't give Aegis to her, do you?
I don't think so. I think the Weaver could be a good carrier for that in this situation. I mean, if you want to be mean about it, you can give Medusa Aegis, but I don't think so. Scotty is done. Again, that 600 mana talent. Now we're looking at a 2400 mana pool.
Yeah.
It's way, way too much to consider her a real target to kill.
So I feel like Manta Diffusal Blade, what do you think is the reasoning that they didn't decide to go for that on Miracle, as she actually does take the H's?
All right, well, immortal indeed. But no, I mean, the logic is that they have so much magical damage from the Ember. They say, okay, well, he's got his magic damage. Let's combine it together. Magic damage from Ember, magic damage from Mirana, and just nuke, nuke, nuke. And you should be able to pop off a couple heroes that way. But
they have a pipe on ET too.
If your it wouldn't look so bad if they didn't keep running into the Medusa. If they ran into the Weaver and were bringing those items, that would be like, oh, that's a dead Weaver. He's going nowhere, and he's screwed, and Medusa's the only one getting farmed. And we'd be seeing a lot more of what we saw in the first 20 minutes of this game. But they keep on getting unlucky about who they find. It's Armel that they find every time, and this item build that they've gone for is not designed to kill her.
An Ember right there, not even really feeling comfortable going after the CM. Granted, I'd be a little bit gun-shy as well at this point. It's still only a 2,000 net worth lead. Like, if they do avoid her, if they do try to sort of leave her alone, can they go for the split push game and try and maybe make some rat-tastic plays?
I mean, I think they still need kills first. I think they need to pick off a couple of heroes so they don't have to worry about the big initiation of the Elder Titan and the Axe. And if they can just get any picks, they can feel a lot more comfortable with that siege. But right now, for what it's worth, they have an Aegis on the Radiant side, and most importantly, it's easy for you to get outgunned and outcontrolled.
I mean, they are trying to do it at least a little bit. They're cutting these creep waves, and you've got also the Pit Underlord that can make those moves. You've got Miracle down here bottom. They're doing whatever they can to stop it, but I guess this is also playing into the hands of Clutch Gamers a little bit because they can just keep farming, and that does become a bit of an issue. As RR caught for the moment, going to go for the Dark Rift away, and should be able to escape from that one.
All right, so Agadam's build up for Ninja Boogie. He went for the GPM talent and the Midas, so really wanting to emphasize getting this Agadam's at an okay timing, but really is going to be the frustrator for this Weaver, who just got his BKB. If they can get that on Obbing, if they can get the combos out against him, they still have a lot of kill potential to squish Weaver, but up front, it's Armel, and you know what he's doing. He's just being a nuisance. He's poking at towers, and they're actually killing it as quickly as Mineski are at bottom lane. So yeah, they actually can walk the high ground here, and it's gonna, like, you look at the Mirana, he's like, okay, well, I'll start sieging, but it's really not gonna do much damage at all, and they have to just kind of make a call to retreat.
Well, they're going to be able to find
Sardar get caught out.
Sardar, yeah. They're going to be able to find that kill. The CM ult even going to be committed for, maybe not actually going to be able to get that kill. Shadowblade away.
Now, up front, in center, it's going to be Armel that stands between Mineski and an opportunity, and you see that. Like, normally in this situation, you wouldn't be able to send 2 heroes back to deal with a Slardar and still keep hitting their tier 3 towers. Right. You'd be like, okay, well, now it's a 4v3, maybe 5v3 if the Slardar gets out too far. And that would be scary for anybody but this Medusa, who really, at this point, couldn't care what she's up against.
You know, the thing to me that's most impressive about this from Clutch Gamers is that throughout these qualifiers, they've played with the Darkseer, they've played with the Sand King, they've played with these heroes that are built around taking team fights and winning consistently. This is a different sort of game for them, and it's showing they have that range. Man, granted, if you have a Medusa as the last pick, sometimes it's just going to end up working for you, and it's not super hard. But I think that this is also showing a little bit of breadth of possibility for play. It's good to see.
Going to cast cancel the Berserker's Call while the self-heals comes through, and in the end, it's going to be Ember slipping away. But yeah, it is definitely a very different playstyle from what we saw previously, and yeah, I think that it is going to be showcasing their ability to kind of stretch the game out and let the counter initiation kind of speak for itself. I feel at this point, like, obviously it's just a strength of drafting to have any versatility for your cores, but you know, when you're looking at one of the 3 best last picks for a draft, you're pretty confident. So Boombex is kind of in a weird spot here, dropping down to about half HP, but I don't feel like Mineski are confident in this part of the map at all.
They're still moving in over here, and Ember on top of him ends up going for the Remnant away. Slardar is also in the jungle. They're doing a good job of keeping these lanes pressured in and always have Clutch Gamers on the back foot. So this is something that's eventually going to need to be solved. They're not getting much out of the Aegis. I guess, though, the answer is just sort of bots, and eventually they're going to have to win a team fight if they want to win the game.
So, at least for now, it's still kind of a farm fest for the Radiant side. They've got the Mjolnir coming up pretty soon for Armel. The Weaver looking at Diffusal Blade next, and I think Jace is trying to be as pesky as possible. He knows that they don't really have a good way of controlling him consistently, so they're, as long as he doesn't get caught by a Berserker's Call and like 3 heroes. But we're actually going to see the root. He's going to go ahead and break through, and has the Yules, has the Remnant. It's a slow Remnant, though.
Yeah. To get out of there, Yule's Scepter to lift him up again, but they do not manage to chase, and that should be Ember out of there.
Yeah, so he's just kind of playing a little bit of cat and mouse with them. He knows that there's really minimal risk of him getting caught out. In the meantime, he has bought time for the Midas to take its toll, for Disrupt to have an Aghanim Scepter. I really feel like the game plan is now try to get Crystal Maiden and Weaver and maybe another inside a Freezing Field, Kinetic Field, or sorry, the Kinetic Static, and from there you'll just try to end the game. But yeah, the Medusa is going to try to thwart that at every step, and she's going to be the one that's clearly on the front line. Right now, Boomback's actually very deep, dropping the ward where you wouldn't expect it and trying to create an opportunity for them.
All right, well, here we go. Moving in towards this bottom lane, and it's going to be a Tier 2 tower under siege. They're still pressuring out to the best of the abilities. Mineski,
a lot of TPs on cooldown. I actually don't think they defend this Tier 2 at all.
Yeah, they can even think about going further if they want to. They do have the Mjolnir there, done on Medusa now. Almost level 25 also.
Miracle needs 19 seconds to get back, and they're already hitting the Tier 3 tower. What can Miracle do in this situation? Yeah, he can poke and prod at a Tier 2 tower, but that's not nearly as important as what's happening on the Dire side.
Yeah, they're already hitting it. They don't have any way to stop this, really. I also have the sleep now onto 2 of them. Spell Shield is still very much alive. They don't have Aegis anymore, which might be something to freak them out slightly. But hitting from the low grounds, they end up connecting onto a couple.
Oh, that's a waste of Static Storm.
They're not doing anything with this. They're literally going to get nothing with it.
That might just be the walk it in now. Like, if you don't have Static Storm, what can you do to team fight this? I mean, you try so hard, hit a Malice, Static Storm, but now you have nothing for 60 seconds.
Man, and they're going to be able to call him back out. There's going to be the Earth Splitter. Drop down. They get the dunk to boot. 7-15, but most importantly, you've got these heroes hitting the Tier 3 towers. They don't have an answer. This is not the hero that you want to focus. Arrow off the mark as well, ended up running into a creep. Armel still so tanky in the midst of this fight. Stone Gaze still being held onto as well. Hasn't even popped the Mjolnir charge onto her as of yet. There's the crush. Maybe, possibly. There's something, but Hana jumps forward. This is the call. Okay. Static Storm still 34 seconds away.
Okay. I'm not sure if they actually pursue this any further. They've missed enough calls, and they don't really have too many more opportunities. But I do have a lot of HP regen coming in for the Medusa, and they don't really care too much what damage she's taken.
Yeah, Urn charges keep on going out there. That arrow, Manta dodged as well. Very nicely played there by Armel. Still in some trouble. The call a little bit off the mark as he ended up lifting up with the Yule Scepter. They throw out another Sleight of Fist. Rooted, stuck there, in place, is going to drop. The Ember going down. They might be able to force a buyback off the back of this one. Slowed again by the Scotty, but the creep wave is not there. Backdoor protection is still going.
Medusa is low on mana. Armel is actually very vulnerable here. This could be a big kill.
Oh, Crush on a 3. They need the follow-up. Remnant forward. They end up being able to take down one. Boombax is dead. The Static Storm, it's come back up, but can they find these kills? So close, so low. They take her down finally. My goodness gracious me, oh my. Clutch Gamers end up losing 5. That was the fight.
That was exactly what they were looking for. It took way too long for them to siege from that position. One thing that Pit Lord in particular is extremely good at is holding that high ground for an excruciatingly long time. They had enough time for Static Storm to come all the way back up. And in that time, Clutch Gamers had multiple opportunities for Hannah to jump in and hit a call, try to get a pick off. It was actually the Crystal Maiden that sets up the pick off on the Ember. So, like, it just feels like they missed a couple of too many initiations, and they should have backed off from there. They kept it going, and in the end, they are chased down.
Yeah.
The Medusa shows that she is not immortal, and that she does have limitations. She took way too much damage. It took a long time. It took like a minute for them to wear her down, but eventually she was so low on her mana that they ended up getting a very clean 5-man sweep.
There were 2 Static Storms in that fight.
Yeah.
Like, it's a 70-second cooldown. They ended up getting it at the perfect time as well.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of wondering what this Mirana goes back into, and it looks like Demon Edge is going to be the pick.
Okay. So, I mean, I can't imagine that being like a rapier. So, I mean, we're kind of looking at evasion components on anybody here, and I'm not seeing anything. I mean, there is a talent for evasion, but it wasn't selected by the Medusa.
Yeah.
So, hard to say, but right now it is going to be just the Demon Edge picked up. The E-Blade benched? There's no way. Okay, so he's going to, backpack the TPs, just get his mana and HP back up and try to get back out on the map. But, yeah, I assume MKB is going to pick up, and he'll just try to... You can do a couple things with it. You can break some channel defects like the Echo Stomp or the Freezing Field with a couple of auto attacks, or obviously you don't have to worry about any sources of evasion for when... that might be picked up, as the butterfly is actually queued up now.
Well, maybe if you do end up seeing the MKB or the Demon Edge already in hand, that Armel ends up going for something else instead. Like, I don't know. It feels to me, what else would you even go, though? Like,
I mean, you just want damage. Divine Rapier is definitely a viable option for Medusa at this stage in the game. He was lacking damage quite a bit. I still think Dragonlance isn't too bad. It's just you're very full on item slots, so... Unless you feel like the Pike creates a lot of value and you decide to maybe drop the Lincolns, then I kind of feel like you just continue to go either for this Butterfly option or the Divine Rapier, or I've seen Daedalus do some work in some substitute situations, but I just think that overall Daedalus is a lot worse than Divine Rapier. The only thing is that you get to keep it when you die.
Right. Yeah, there you go. And that's pretty good, although hopefully the idea is that you don't end up dying. This smoke was not scouted out, so Mineski might not be aware that it's happening. There is a Roshan potential. This is a long wraparound as well. If they could find one of these heroes here. It looks like the Mineski realize what's happening, though. They're, well, maybe Disruptor? Trying to break it. They spot out one. A good Pit of Malice to start. They pop the BKB for the Weaver, turning onto the Disruptor. They are by the Shrine, but yeah, it's a little bit too scary, and they might end up losing this Underlord. No, he should be fine.
And they did get the minus respawn time talent on Disruptor, so he will be back up for any kind of high ground defense, but that's not the objective that Clutch Gamers are going to be going for. It's this Aegis, no cheese yet, to make the Medusa just the most unassailable thing in the world, but yes, indeed, we do have Aegis on the field. Nowhere near Divine Rapier Gold. I love to see it where you purchase Divine Rapier right when you get Aegis, and then you kind of have, like, a slightly safer YOLO play. But nevertheless, they just have the Aegis with some decent raw damage, and we'll see if they find themselves back in a sieging position. Or if the wave
good crush. Fly solo, gone on at the start. And Weaver also maybe in some trouble, but it does look like Jules, he's in trouble as well. They're able to get the time lapse off on the Weaver, so still left alive for the moment. They have the Frostbite. Can they get this kill? Arrow now down onto Medusa. The rest of the heroes are here. Static Storm onto Armel. If they can bring him down right here, burn through that Aegis, it would be such a clutch move. The BKB has been popped for Hana. He's starting to fall. Mineski might just be doing it. Oh, the E-Blade to keep him alive. 50 HP. Blinks out as well. Miracle does it again. and they're able to escape with the Mirana's life.
Very impressive shot calling from Mineski there. Able to just kill off the more vulnerable targets. This Elder Titan was actually easy pickings for them with that crush. And from there, they are able to break down multiple heroes and the Aegis without anything but the Slaughter going down.
That was absurdly good. It's kind of nuts, though, that the Midases are starting to pay off at this point. You've got the heart there on the Slardar, so it took him so much longer to go down. We already had the Aghanim Scepter, but now going back for the refresher for the Disruptor, still a long ways away from it. But you start thinking about that item getting done and maybe eventually into a Sheepstick or something. They haven't really been able to assault the Brax again. And I don't know. I'm kind of wondering at this point, how do you do that if you're the Radiant team?
You have to get the waves pushed out at all costs, and it just means that you're going to have to continuously put pressure and just put some time into the lanes. They've been putting so much time elsewhere, and it hasn't been quick. There's no flash farmer on the team. There's still not enough damage on the Medusa, and as you mentioned before, she's quite slow herself. So there just are a lot of limiting factors there. Beyond that, yeah, I do think the Midases are coming into play. I'm actually excited to see the Slardar hit level 25. I haven't actually seen in competitive play the 10% bash chance come into play, but I think that could be actually quite potent if he can get some True Strike on top of that. I mean, you look like that's 35% chance to bash, get a decent attack speed, and you might just be able to completely lock down a hero like Medusa or Weaver.
Yeah. We did end up seeing the level 25 for Medusa, went for the lifesteal of 25%, which is really nice as a value pickup, not having to go back to lifesteal herself. Also, 2 second Searing Chains for the Ember Spirit, no great surprise there. For the Mirana, we're already into the leap attack speed, makes a lot of sense as well. And I think with the Butterfly pickup, I mean, granted it makes her Manta-style illusion stronger, but we have the potential to have the MKB coming out. If
Daedalus.
he sold the...
He went for Daedalus, so he is going to be...
Mirana?
Selling the... He must have just seen it, did he?
Okay. He has Demon Edge.
Yeah, he just saw the Butterfly. The Slaughter in Viz scouted out the Butterfly, and he just in time sold the Daedalus to get the value back and get this MKB online.
Oh my god.
That was close. But yeah, so now he has the MKB up for the Mirana. The key thing here is the mentality of Miracle. He transitioned from a build where he's like, let's just try to win the game as soon as possible. Let's just nuke him down, where he was looking at like the Aghanims, Ethereal into Dagon 5. He scraps that idea, goes for Mjolnir, MKB, and this...
Oh my god, they're scouting it out! The crush on the forward! Triple Remnant forward! Can they find them, though? The BKBs have already been popped, and now Armel trying to turn, trying to get out of their arrow, though. It is going to connect, and now they can leap in. The attack speed, if they want to do it. Armel starting to fall so low! They got them all. They end up feeding them over the cheese, I do believe. Armel, is he going to end up going down? They have to leap out and away. The Medusa stands tall at the end. I cannot believe that they were able to keep her alive.
Absolutely insane. The Mystic Snake is just such a great ability in these situations. You get all this mana back like nearly instantly, and then she's got the lifesteal component on top of that. Like, she just sustains so hard and just soaks up through everything. They put so much time into trying to kill off the Slardar, and as you mentioned, that heart is making it very difficult.
Holy hell.
If Clutch Gamers could just get a little bit more damage, those opportunities would turn on their head so much more. But as we see Armel pushing forward, the tanky beast that he is, and they're just going to try to, in their mindset, force Ember's buyback, which actually means they're just going to be pushing down some tier 3 towers.
Was that really just all from the Mystic Snake and the right clicks?
I believe so. There was
so
not a cheese in play.
What the hell?
Hey,
it looked like the freaking cheese. It's all gone. Arrow is going to be off the mark now, and Armel, he's just going to hit the towers. They got the caught now onto Ninja Boogie as well. He's going to drop. Mineski do not have an answer at the end of the day for this Medusa, and they have to pop the glyph. They don't have Disruptor ulti from this. They jump forward. They get the call now onto Jules. There's a lot of damage going down onto these heroes. Medusa, too much in the end. And I think that this might just be it. They have buyback on 2 different heroes, but I don't think that there's any way they could find this kill.
No, I mean, it's not over yet. We are just going to see the mid lane drop down. There's a lot more to this game, but with the long respawn time on the Slardar, they're going to have to fight 4 versus 5 into a full-fledged Medusa ready to rumble. And they might not even get the chance. Armel could just walk away right now. Trying to get some distance here. Seared will Manta, and that might just be the back away. So 2 lanes of Rax gone. They're definitely not going to say die in this position. Mineski are going to try to fight this one out as long as they can. But at this current point in time, it does look like Clutch Gamers are in the winning position.
This is so nuts. The Medusa has just gotten ridiculously farmed.
I mean, look at their net worth, man.
Yeah, this is already a hero that thrives in the late game, but getting these late game talents to make it even stronger, like the 600 mana in particular, it's so hard to bring her down.
Never refuse gold given.
And there we go, going to be able to take down the shrines.
And actually stalking up Jay. If they find this kill, the game is over. But the Blake away just when the call could have come. He should have just popped it a little bit sooner. He shouldn't have waited as long as he did. But at the same time, it's a very tense moment for him. And they're on the verge of victory. They can almost taste it.
Almost. Clutch Gamers. They're doing it. This is, again, in my eyes, they've turned into the second best team in the C region from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and with so many names that aren't appreciated, the ones that aren't really well known to the Western fan base, it's so great to see them just have this resurgence and have this showcase what they could do. And I'm really excited to see what they could do if they can advance further into the playoffs, perhaps into the major itself. They honestly, I am a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is movement forward. The Octarine core has been completed for the Ember Spirit, and this is an item that can give them that extra survivability that he might need. Still, 25s are up though, and Sakuchi movement speed is there for the Weaver as well. Just individually hard to deal with, but when you pair it together with the Medusa as well.
All right, so movement speed is not a problem here. It's 319 movement speed on this Medusa without boots and inventory, but just got to go in and just be this fortress that cannot be contested.
Call there on a Ninja Boogie. If they can burst him before the ulti, it's going to happen. He's gone for 45 seconds now, and the chain's going to connect onto 2 Jewels, looking for an opening. Can they bring down these heroes before Medusa can take down Barracks? It does look like they're able to take down 2, maybe a 3rd, but they have not answered Armel in the base and also the Weaver here. Look at the damage. He's getting so much lifesteal from this as well. Full mana pool. They can't do anything. They literally can do nothing, and looks like with that, they are going to be able to most likely take at least Mega Creeps. They pop the BKB. Oh, Miracle making a kill onto them, but, well, if it wasn't 4v5 before, it's starting to look quite rough now as well. Armel taking a good bit of damage, possibly. Suicide. They actually end up being able to find the kill.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he will never do that unless he had buyback. Mineski know this. But, yeah, as far as buybacks that were forced out there, we have Ember Spirits recently used, and then Mirana and Underlord still having theirs on cooldown, but he suicided without actually getting the range racks. It's not megas, and there's a big difference between the two. So they're going to try to see what they can do. They're going to get a Medusa buyback, I'm pretty positive. Yeah. I don't think there's any way that Clutch Gamers hold without at least the Medusa buying back, and probably 1 or 2 others. But at least right now they have to get the waves pushed out, they have to get in a sieging position.
Roche.
They're looking at Roche instead. Cheese is definitely valuable, that's for sure.
DD Rune there on Mirana as well. So most likely Mirana going to eat the cheese, and then we head down towards mid lane. The DD Rune will probably wear off before they get there.
Yeah, that's not going to be coming into play here, unfortunately for them. But at the same time, can they force a buyback?
They're not doing it.
I don't know. I feel like you have to go crazy aggressive here. How are you going to be able to win this game without forcing some buybacks? It just doesn't seem plausible.
Yeah. Quite difficult indeed. It looks like, is this going to be a Satanic queued up for Mirana?
Yeah, but I'm
selling the Aghanim.
More worried about the current state of the game. Like,
yeah,
the Medusa just essentially handed them a free kill on her in order to get the melee racks and put some damage into everybody else. But they didn't punish it. They got the Aegis and the cheese. It's really nice, but is it going to be enough for them to win the game? I don't know. Like, this game is still up in the air. We're 53 minutes in. Anything can happen if the right position is taken, but right now with 3 buybacks on cooldown, and it looks like the rest unavailable. No, just disruptors available.
I mean, Medusa's going to be able to have buyback and do the exact same thing she did before, but this time against a range barracks.
Yeah, and I expect she'll get BOTs along the way as well. She could throw a second life at it if she wants. Or I mean, I guess you wouldn't throw the second life at a barracks, because really, honestly, Mega Creeps don't matter that much.
Yeah.
In the context of, you've got Radiance on one guy, you've got Mjolnir on another. Like, Mega Creeps can't be dealt with.
Okay, one thing to keep in mind here, we do still have Dark Rift plays. Late game Dark Rift is quite good. If they did end up going for something like that, pushing in the bottom lane, taking down a tier 3 tower, and then base race, do you think they win with that attack speed?
All right, well, we'll see. Ember Spirit is not in position just yet, only has BOT's level 1, but they're already on the move, and it's already Clutch Gamers bailing out.
Yeah, good decision making there. But do you think that there is a chance for some Dark Rift, like base race plays?
Absolutely. If they can get the creeps in the right position for it, I mean, they absolutely can catch off guard. But in terms of base racing, I would have to back away from that a little bit because honestly, they don't do that much building damage. Neither side does. It's not like you could surprise somebody like a Lone Druid or a Tiny and just chunk down a building within the next like 6 or 7 seconds.
Yeah.
It really comes down to a slow, methodical amount of damage. But they can surprise in terms of positioning. They can probably get a pick off with it, and that could be as good as breaking down a barracks at this stage, even better.
God, these illusions just so hard to deal with. Is this a hero, Medusa, who is going to start? We talk a lot about like Meepo getting the full 6 slotted and then kind of falling off a little bit. Is that something to at all be concerned about from Medusa, where you don't really have any more room to grow and become stronger? Or
I don't think that's...
No? Okay.
Well, let's see here as this fight breaks out.
Static Storm down. All right, that's going to be one dead. The Weaver is already gone. He does have buyback. Armel is in the midst of all of this, trying to pop the BKB and chase down and kill off the Slardar, but they're kind of maneuverable and able to walk away for the moment. Hana's been able to find the initiation, though, and Slardar's still running away. Everybody from Mineski is still alive, and the Satanic really coming into play now as well, trying to run down and kill off all the rest of these Radiant heroes. They kill off that ET. They're going to be able to take down Hana. Now Medusa also maybe in some trouble, popping the Manta style, but got caught by the Pit of Malice for a moment. Ember Spirit continuing the chase, not able to kill off Momax, though, on that Crystal Maiden. The glimpse back in. Armel is starting to drop the damage. It's quite significant, but they're able to get her out of there. And just like that, he bought an Aghanim Scepter. Weaver bought an Ags, and that was a time lapse to get Medusa back to life. All right, that was a play and a half. He got back into the game, bought an Ags, and now Miracle ends up falling because of it. What?
Absolutely insane. Now the Ember Spirit is in dieback mode, and we are going to be seeing just a full offensive here. Don't even really look at the range racks. Just look at the throne. Look at ending this game here and now. And it's going to be Mineski in a desperate position to hold. But they are picking out the range racks. As far as the creep wave, it is pushed in enough to break the backdoor protection. And they're going to go in for the full offensive.
All right.
They can't focus Medusa, but yeah, they have to focus everybody else.
All right, Static Storm now down onto 2, but they managed to get a chase. Bing dropping really low. If they could kill him off, that's one of the ways forward. Hana's on top of it too, but he's going to start to fall. Armo wants to hit this, but you talked about Mega Creeps is not everything in this match.
No,
can they find the kill?
They'll get the Mega Creeps, and then we'll see Armel most likely drop down. He doesn't have an escape plan. So he's just going to try to do what damage he can. Maybe get a pick off in his demise.
He's falling. He's going to end up dropping here, and Jules still left alive. He is going to live through this as well. Alive on 40 HP. So now you have no buyback on 3 of these heroes. I don't know. Blaze, can they do it? And did Weaver have that Aghanims before, or did he buy it?
So there was that scenario down on bottom lane where you thought there might be a cheese coming to play with a quick HP and mana reset. It actually very well might have been the Aghanims. There's been so much going on in this game. It's so fast-paced, and it's been a blur to an extent. But it very well might have been an Aghanims play down bottom before. It definitely was a huge play in that last fight down mid. But now that they've committed, now they've gotten the Mega Creeps, they only have 2 heroes to defend their high ground. We'll have to see. The biggest thing here is Mineski are still really bad at breaking buildings. They have the leap attack speed. That's really going to be expediting the process here as they try to break down, getting the creeps in play. But now they're on Medusa's home turf.
Oh, question mark indeed, Ninja Boogie. You call him out on that. All right, let's see if they can make this happen, though. Time to take down the Tier 3 tower, and the question is, are they going just to be able to ignore the Medusa like they've been doing all game long? That's the Tier 3 down. Mineski, I don't know. Ember's going to be in the fray as well. They're keeping the Mega Creeps out of their base. They're hitting the Tier 4s.
They can't dive like this, though. She's going to go in the
Go
fountain.
hit the tower.
There's no way they can get her in the fountain. This is not the time to fountain dive. Mineski, go for the throne.
They're making it happen, and they are all over him. 10 seconds away for the axe. Can they kill it off in time? They got the sleep on the Miracle. They don't have much damage outside of him. Now trying to find the kill. The Stone Gates. Nobody is hitting the Ancient. They can't focus it down as of yet. Armel trying to stand tall. Can they do it? He ends up eating the cheese. This time for sure they made it happen, and it does look like Clutch Gamers are going to come through in the clutch and possibly bring them all down. RR, he ends up getting the Slardar out of there, and they cannot take down the throne. 2 minutes with no Mirana. Holy shit, I think Clutch Gamers did it.
Absolutely insane here. Such a close call in both scenarios, and actually a very risky maneuver from Clutch, taking that Rax at the cost of their entire team. But Mineski's lineup was never good at breaking buildings fast enough. A lot of team lineups at 58 minutes would have just chugged down those tier 4s and that throne, no problem at all. But Mineski's lineup struggled with it. They didn't have enough time, and now it's about to be GG the other way.
My goodness gracious, they freaking did it! Wow.
What a
I mean, they were ahead for so long, but Mineski made that really close at the end.
That was actually insane. It's just, you got to feel for Mineski. They tried their hearts out in this one, but it just felt like that last pick Medusa permeated this entire game. They tried to play around it. They tried to ignore her and focus everybody else. They did actually succeed in that in a couple of cases, but in the end, Medusa herself was always there to deliver the damage she needed to, and Mineski just couldn't do much more than that. A great game from both sides. Just impressive SEA Dota action that I feel privileged to have cast. But it is going to be Clutch Gamers guaranteeing themselves into the playoffs now with that victory, and Mineski kind of having to make sure that they take every win here, avoid the tiebreakers, and go through to the next round.
Just an incredible display. Not often that Medusa games end up being that exciting, right? It was great. It does look like he ended up buying the Agnum Scepter at the 45-minute mark all at the same time.
In hindsight, it makes so much more sense that would have been that kind of a reset, but it just like there was so much going on.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy.
It was such a crazy game. So yeah, obviously that was what happened between Abeng and Armel having each other's back, but as a whole, I just got to emphasize that was a hell of a game.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to watch more. And if you guys have missed the Southeast Asian Dota, be sure to go keep on following it. Catch up on some of the VODs. There's so much action happening. Like right now, there's 8 different games in a second that are going to be going on between China, Europe, CIS. And there's a ton of different highlights out there, but be sure to go try and find them if you can, because the games have been amazing. They've been so good.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to be a bit of a sign-off here for us on the SEA Cast. Lyrical's got one more coming at you for a bit, but I myself am Blaze. If you enjoyed the commentary, look me up at BlazeCasting, Lyrical at Lyrical Dota, and it's been a hell of a couple of days of Dota 2, and we hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you later.
E-Gaming Bets, online.